Okay, so here's part two for the week. This one's a little long, so go ahead and open up in if you have a separate screen, or just refer to this video on your phone later or something like that. When you're reading through the 21 commonly committed fallacies, I'm going to go through each of these with you, and I'll make it quick and effective. How's that sound? So, hope not to be on here too long because brevity and quality is more important. Um, but I want to go through each of these fallacies with you because it's an important part of your assignment coming up about fallacies, okay? Something we have to be concerned with as employees or leaders or future leaders. So let's start with the first one, ad hominem. Okay. So this is a way to like distort someone's character and credibility with no real valid information. So, like it says here, I was surprised you agreed with her. She's kind of an extremist. Okay. The fact that this person may or may not be an extremist doesn't matter. The point is the person in question agreed with a certain point that a person had said. So if we label someone this way, then we can't agree with them no matter what they say because they're an extremist. So appeal to authority. This is a big one, and they use the example of Oprah, and this is kind of true. If Oprah endorses that book, you're a millionaire. All right. So, Oprah endorses this or that, and all of a sudden, like, well, Oprah likes it. It must be true. Well, who made Oprah boss? I mean, nothing wrong with her. She's billionaire and all that. She's done great. But does she know everything? No, nobody does. So that's an appeal to authority. Just because someone likes something or endorses something doesn't mean that you must get it, you know. And who knows what kind of, you know, I'm sure there's kickbacks for that. I would imagine, all right. Appeal to fear. This is a big one. We've seen this for a good year with elections. Politician X will eat your puppy or take away your freedom or democracy's at stake. That's appeal to fear. Appeal to pity. I know I made a poor decision, but look how hard my job is. I'll give you an example because I'm in the middle of a name change and I forgot two important documents. I just didn't see it. And I said to myself in my head, and no one's responsible for making the mistake with this paperwork but me. There's nothing to do with the system, anything like that. But for a microsecond in my head, when I was standing there in court, and I realized, and I'm like, well, I've been so busy, again, it happens. We're all human. And then I said, just to myself, shut up. It's your fault. You didn't look at this well enough. But again, sometimes we'll do that appeal to pity or sympathy. But look how hard things are, blah, blah, blah. But we can do that. Appeal to popular passions. I know you'll all agree with this, ladies and gentlemen. So the person de facto was saying you agree with me because I said you agree with me. And it actually is pretty effective sometimes. But let me think. Bill Clinton. I know the American people do not want me impeached. Oh, do you? He's probably right about that at that time anyway, but still, appeal to popular passions. You still like me. That kind of thing. That wasn't a very good Clinton impression at this point, but you get the idea, right? It works sometimes too. They do this in courts, TV, politics, when you're selling something to someone, begging the question. So this fallacy leads an argument that may not be true in the first place. I avoid those meetings. I don't want to be brainwashed. Assuming that the person in the meeting is trying to brainwash you. Or, just because you think that they'll brainwash you, then you don't attend that meeting. And the other thing, too, is are you saying that people that go to the meeting want to be brainwashed? So, again, that's a fallacy. Begging the question is, that's the one I was just talking about. Sorry. Disinformation. Manipulators. Yeah, they launch rumors enough to discredit a person. So this example is a good one. Well, I don't know for sure whether she votes that way, but she does hang out with people who do, assuming just because she's friends or socializes with certain individuals that she votes a certain way. There is, remember, we talked about empirical evidence, right? Cause and effect. Because this person hangs out with these individuals, she or he must vote like they do. Cause and effect. That is to assume that if she voted a different way, that she must hang out with other people. Makes sense, right? Like the missus here, she has a way different view of the world than I do. Okay. So someone could say, well, oh, well, she's married to him, so she must support what he says, or vice versa. And we don't, it's just the way it is. So that's just kind of a strange way of approaching a situation. False dilemma. Either you agree with me or you hate me. Let me think. Agree or hate? Well, I just hate you. How's that if I had to pick the two? Just kidding. The idea here is that it's one extreme or the other. If you disagree with me, you hate me. You agree with me, you don't hate me. Or if you don't have a certain view, well, then you're just projecting hate. These things that you hear out in the world and all that. That's a fallacy. I can like you very much and disagree with you at the same time. That's okay. And vice versa. Let's go back to the Socratic method again. Week 1, right? Our job is to learn why people think and feel the way they do. We don't have to judge. We're not here to judge or try to persuade anybody, but it's better to know why people feel the way they do so we have a better understanding about them. But it doesn't mean we hate them. False dilemma. We already did that. I'm sorry. False analogy. All I do is take a candy bar. Stop looking at me if I started a war. This trick uses misleading comparisons to make the arguer seem right. I've seen this a lot actually when I worked in the criminal justice system. Well, I just did this. It's not like I murdered anybody. No, you didn't murder anybody. You wouldn't be here right now. You'd be in lockup. So the idea would be minimizing your behavior to make it sound like, it's almost as if it's okay. It's just a candy bar I stole. I just stole a car. They have insurance. I got that one a lot. Vehicle, people that steal vehicles. So it's a false analogy. The analogy being, I took a candy bar. I didn't start war. I stole a car. I didn't murder anybody. I robbed a bank, but I didn't kill anybody. That kind of thing. So that's what they call false analogy. Statistics. Okay. Statistics can be manipulated big time. Data can often be manipulated. So let's go back to, we did a survey between these two candidates, and candidate 1 is up by 5 points. Okay, let's look at the survey. How many people did you survey? 800. Is that representative of the general population in the United States? Say they're doing something like someone running for president or something of the United States of America. Where did you get the sample from? Was it from Dallas? Was it from New York City? Was it from some place in North Dakota? So again, data can be set up in a way to assume that a fact is true. And that's something going back to what? Empirical evidence. How does the data drive a conclusion? Is that data reliable and valid? There you go. So see, we're relating everything back to previous weeks here. Pretty cool, right? Hasty generalizations. Okay, so in this case, I don't know if you guys knew the Menendez brothers murdered their parents in the 90s. I'm not going to reference the Lorena Bobbitt. You can look it up. Go ahead. Decorum here. And other prominent cases we read about in the media involve violence in the traditional family. So that's a hasty generalization because we do not know for sure exactly what happened in regards to violence or lack thereof violence in the family, that there is a correlation between the two. So it can be kind of hasty. There might be truth in it, but there may not be truth in it. So that's what they call a hasty generalization. I'll let you look up Lorena Bobbitt. I'm not going to talk about it. Ignoring the evidence. Well, I don't really care why she did it. It was wrong. Well, that can be kind of hard to do. Say someone legitimately steals, I don't know, Hungry Man dinner because they're hungry. Like legitimately, they're starving. Is it wrong? Yes. Is there a reason why that person? Yes, they're hungry. There's a difference between right and wrong sometimes in the eyes of desperation. I'm not saying it's right. It'd be worse to rob a bank, you know, rather than steal a Hungry Man dinner from the supermarket. But the idea here is that you care or not, there's a reason why someone does what they do. So even let's go back again to my history working in criminal justice, right? There's somehow a reason or rationalization why people do what they do. Bernie Madoff with that big Ponzi scheme that put him in 3 hots and a cot probably for the rest of his life. Basically, he had a rationalization in his head. Yes, that was very wrong, but we should care why. We should learn why. I've known one fella, he hacked his business, a computer hacker. This is years ago. And it was wrong. But you had to understand, you know, especially if you're counseling him, why he did that, which is really interesting because when he was being released, companies offered him jobs to be anti-fraud. Interesting world out there. And he had a job waiting for him when he finished his sentence. They said, okay, you're really good at this. Why don't you come work for us and protect our company from the hackers? He gladly accepted, right? But either way, getting back to it, we need to care. Why? All right. Even if it was wrong, at least to have an understanding as to why. It would be easier to justify someone shoplifting a Hungry Man dinner because they're starving versus maybe creating a Ponzi scheme, but still. All right. So loaded label or definition. I've seen this a lot. That's crazy. Mike cheats all the time without getting punished. And you're hanging out to dry after messing up once. Okay, so that idea would be you're trying to go ahead and wag the dog and worry about something someone else may have done or may not have done. I mean, how do we know it's true that Mike cheats all the time without getting punished at that? You're hanging me after dry after messing up once. This is unfair. Why is Mike getting treated better than me? So what you're doing is you're avoiding it. You're avoiding your role. Okay, non sequitur. I should not receive a C in this course. I never get C's. Yes, you do. You got one now, bud. You know, so the idea is just because you've never gotten a C doesn't justify the reason or rationale to not get a C in this case. That happens more than you think with students, actually. I never had anyone grade me like this. Well, surprise. What do you want me to tell you? Most of the time, it's a fallacy when they say that, by the way. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. After this, therefore, because of this. Cramming for a test really helps. I crammed for my psychology test and got an A. Well, goody for you, bud. But yeah, it might have worked with psychology. Was it going to work for calculus or algebra? So just because you had one experience doesn't mean that you'll always have that experience. You could say something like, hey, I crammed for this test. And I think it really helped this particular time for a psychology exam. The red herring. You asked me why unemployment rate has risen again, but I'll tell you what's affecting this country's morale even in worse ways than that. Let's go ahead and divert attention to something else. So they want to talk about something that's called the red herring. Shifting burden of proof. Manipulators know that having to prove an argument true makes their job more difficult. So they try to shift that burden. So remember, we talked about seeking the truth, right? The idea is that what evidence drives this to be true? And we're going back to asking questions. Socratic method, week 1. We're nailing it here, folks. So in this case, the person will say, you say she didn't do it, but there's no hard evidence to support that idea. So what you're saying is that there's evidence to support that she did it? What you should be asking is, what evidence is there to support that this person did this? Be the best way to ask a question like that. The slippery slope. If I gave you a raise and I have to give everyone a raise, and the company will go bankrupt. Well, that's a little extreme, isn't it? Why do you have to give everyone a raise? Does everyone deserve a raise? You could also say, right now, the organization cannot afford to give anyone raises. Simple. But you're making it sound like, why would I give you a raise? Make it sound like, even if you're the best worker here, I can't. Otherwise, I have to give everyone else. Why? Is everyone else doing well? We distributing wealth? What does that mean? To say we can't afford to give anyone a raise at this time because of financial hardship. Spin doctors use the media all the time to represent their own viewpoints and encourage criticism of others. And again, it gets back to politics. Each side rallies to declare their version of the outcome, hoping to spin the desired perception their way. So they use words in a way to manipulate you to think one way or the other. We see that a lot. My biggest argument has been discussing the concept of economic inequality. If you look back at economic inequality, they're actually referring to Karl Marx, socialism at best. What do they mean by economic inequality? If you ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different answers. Not judging here. So my question's always been, how do you define economic equality? And I remember I was teaching this in Philadelphia years ago, and they sat there and thought about it and said, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't work. I didn't come up with it. They did. Socratic method, right? They said, no, wait, economic equality doesn't sound right to me. Sounds like they want to distribute everything equally. Then why am I going to college and having, an $80,000 loans to pay back? I said, I don't know. You tell me. They keep talking about economic inequality. What does equality look like? Maybe we're talking about something else, like equal opportunity. But again, we can spin things that way. The straw man. Okay. You say you want to reform the criminal justice system. What do you want, to free all the criminals? Okay. No. Just because someone says they want to reform the system doesn't mean they want to free the criminals. They didn't say that. Like, for instance, maybe reformation has to do with giving skills for women who are in prison, who don't have many skills, and they have to go out there in many cases and raise their kids as single mothers. And rather than putting them, this is a big thing back in the day, I don't know how it is now, in food prep courses, why don't we teach them electrician or HVAC like we do with the men? And again, this goes way back to the early 90s, by the way. So the idea would be that, like, is that reform? So in this case, just because someone's looking for reform doesn't mean they want to send everyone out the door. Maybe some do. I don't know. But this is where we ask questions. What do you mean by reform? What types of reformation do you feel are needed? Rather than responding with, wow, you want to free all the criminals. Did she or he say that? I don't think so. So you want to ask probing questions, gather evidence, empiricism. See what we just did there? And this is where we have to go ahead also and watch our cynical nature, because a lot of this is kind of representative of cynic. So especially the straw man concept here that, oh, you want reform, you just want to free all the criminals. I don't trust you. See, that's just kind of the way it is. So it's kind of funny how this all wraps up in the past couple weeks already. You guys are learning a whole lot. So as leaders, it's important for us to recognize when we're basing our decisions on fallacies or others are basing their decisions on fallacies. And that brings us back to reflect on asking questions to learn more about what someone means or why they're saying what they're saying, rather than jumping to a conclusion as to why we feel they're saying what they're saying. So have fun with this assignment, have fun with this week. We're going to continue to incorporate principles of leadership this week into these discussions about fallacies. I didn't take too long to do this, thank goodness. Take care, and I'll see you on the boards.